Welcome my friends back to Marvel Snap. Conquest mode is right around the corner, or depending on when you are watching this, it is already here. This video is going to be breaking down my top 5 decks to be able to dominate in the coming Conquest mode battles, bringing you those sweet metal rewards, and hopefully allowing you to gain the most coveted pinnacle of competition, that infinite Conquest victory. Let's break them all down. Timestamps down below if you want to scrub through our list, and we're also going to have a gameplay showcase for each one to be able to break down some of the combos I like to play while piloting these different decks. I have some general meta reads that I think are going to be powerful, and then some nuances to the decks that are going to uniquely allow them to be able to succeed in the battle mode setting rather than just the ranked ladder. A great example right now is that Bounce is a pretty good deck in the current meta. The thing is, it has some absolutely abysmal matchups that it is just not able to recover from. If the opponent is bringing Wave, if they are bringing Sandman, it is incredibly challenging, if not impossible, for Bounce to be able to come away with the win. In the ranked ladder, you just retreat for the loss of a couple of cubes, and then you go into your next matchups. If that happens in a Conquest mode arena setting and you lose, you are demoted into the previous league and have to win a new ticket to be able to enter. So with you being required to stack successive victories higher and higher as you progress through the leagues, I am taking a very safe approach to deck building and trying to recommend lists that have very good matchups no matter who they are facing. So Bounce, bad idea. Pilot it if you want as the Brave. I will certainly be trying it at least a little bit, but I am not going to be hanging my hat on this being very successful. First recommendation, and you guys know it's coming, it's High Evolutionary Lockdown. This guy is running the meta right now, and he does have very good balanced matchups up against pretty much any opponent that he is facing. The lockdown versions of control cards don't care whether the opponent is building ongoing engines, on reveal engines, high power cards. You are able to hold everybody back with the Spider-Man, with the Storm lockdown. You have the enormous Hulk that in his current state is really hard for the opponent to be able to stack up power against, and even though Spider-Man received a nerf recently, it has not slowed the list down very much. This deck can be very successful, and what is great about it is being able to snap largely off of your hand state rather than the locations that are revealed or the matchup that the opponent is bringing up against you. Now, of course, in the mirror matchup, you have to be a little bit more cautious and make sure that you are hitting better combos than what the opponent has, but in any other kind of matchup, you can generally look at having the key combo pieces in your hand and be able to say, yes, I'm going to snap, I am successful here. Our general game plan is to be able to lock one location down early with Storm and then leave some kind of scaling piece. The Nebula, the Cyclops, the Sunspot, preferably, honestly, a collection of these cards all together to be able to make sure we win that lane, and then we pivot to be able to win one of the other lanes, either through locking the opponent out with Spider-Man, getting the pressure from Dr. Doom, or dropping down the enormous Hulk on top of their head. Here, I want to establish the Jeff or get the additional power onto Hulk. Without Storm in hand, I might just want to pass, but I think we'll go ahead. We'll pass. Hulk is getting stacked on up with Avengers Compound, limiting where we are going to put our cards. I really wanted to be able to play Cyclops on curve, but no matter. Project Pegasus, preventing some very interesting opportunities. Very interesting indeed. Spider-Man, no longer able to lock out Avengers Compound on 5. That was one of the most coveted tricks in the game. Move Hulk on over to Warrior Falls. He shouldn't face any kind of competition whatsoever over there. Let Nebula scale up a little bit on Project Pegasus. See where the rest of these turns take us. We still pass 1 energy to be able to scale Hulk just a little bit more. And the opponent has the full Bounce complement. Falcon picking them back up. I wonder if they are Sarah or if they are pure Bounce. Either way, I'm feeling fairly confident with what we're going to be capable of doing here. Now, this is where I would have wanted to play Cyclops if he had not been tagged by the Iceman. Yeah, picking up to 4 cost means I think Thing is going to be stronger, and I don't see the opponent being able to beat the Hulk with the 18, especially with Hulk being able to kill something that the opponent puts on their side. They could play Mysterio, which is just going to be a 0 to get swept away, and they won't mind about that. I could also play something like Jeff Sunspot to still pass, but I think Hulk is carrying this one. Just play Thing. Do I just play Thing here and then I play Spider-Man? Let's play that. Angela. Kitty Pryde, of course. Buffs Angela. Shows Iceman. Basically, I just hate Cyclops. Don't hit Kitty. Thank you. Incredible. 15-6, but now they drop to 9-6. You're going to be able to play one card. They'll just repeat the Kitty play. Or they'll just bow out. The Spider-Man was going to be able to follow up, and then we'd be able to lay in our final turn play. They knew they couldn't touch the Hulk, and it just rolls up from there. The developers have said they're keeping a careful eye on the balance state of this deck, so I am expecting through the OTA patches to potentially be dialing this one back just a little bit farther, but in the opening stages of Conquest mode, it is going to be open season for the high evolutionary decks to dominate. He is my #1 suggestion for a deck to be able to run, and I think that it's not, in ladder it can be toxic to see the same deck over and over again, but in battle mode we're able to really get to understand the opponent's deck and be able to have that more nuanced matchup up against them. I think this one is a great one to be able to take your first opening steps to be able to get a feel of the Conquest mode arena. The next take is one that is a deck that is impossible for the opponent to be able to get a full handle on. Good cards Dino. Dino has never been bad. I have said this many times and I will continue to say it. Devil Dino is not represented right now on the ladder really, but I think that's more because people are just so used to what he does and High Evolutionary is still the shiny new toy, not necessarily because Dino or Hawk packages are falling off in the meta in any way whatsoever. What also dramatically recommends this deck is that we get to fit in Dr. Doom, just the jack of all trades, and the X factor of the Agent Coulson. This guy is the core of why I am recommending this deck specifically for Conquest mode, which is based on your battle mode matches. His ability to be able to create the 4 and 5 cost card is just incredible, giving you tools that the opponent is going to never be able to predict, that you can then work in your battle plan, be able to surprise them. Those huge snap opportunities when they just have no idea how to read what is in your hand, and you actually have the tool they don't expect. That is the perfect tool in the situation. Being able to capitalize on those situations can absolutely blow the opponents away, but otherwise the baseline of the deck is very good, even if the random cards that are given are trashy, because you also have the extra energy efficiency in the Quinjet and the Zabu to be able to make magical things happen. White Queen also incredible inside the battle mode arena, where you can get a better expectation of what she is going to be pulling from the opponent after playing her match after match, especially against a meta mainstay, Sarah. There's actually a world where you could play Quinjet on 1, Zabu on 2, White Queen on 3, and then you'd be able to play Sarah on 4 if that's the particular matchup you are running into, which is just absolutely hilarious. Shout out to Maria Hill as a potential substitution for Agent 13, or to be able to work in here. You have a lot of flexibility. Moon Girl plays well, Collector plays well, but this list with the Hawk package as another way to be able to score a lot of points is something that I really appreciate. Mystique has good targets in both Devil Dinosaur and the Hawk. Of course, you have the Hawk package with the Rock Slide and the Korg, energy efficiency, Quinjet, Zabu, Agent Coulson, Shang-Chi for control. Also, you can swap out for the Enchantress, for the Rogue, for the Shadow King, whatever kind of surprise control you want to bring. You want to bring something. Shang-Chi is what I am opting into as the best all-arounder right now, but again, a lot of flexibility there depending on what you are seeing. Let's get into a match. Quinjet on 1 makes me feel very comfortable with what we can accomplish. Zabu also doing really well with how many 4-cost cards we are bringing. The Rock Slide, the Hawk, the Control, and the Shang-Chi, the White Queen, all plays together beautifully. Rock them. Got the Hawk in hand. We'll go Coulson on 3. Love being able to have our early drops. Always want to set up your energy efficiency early and then judge off of your hand what your big scoring potential is going to be. In this case, we've drawn the entire Hawk package. We do have the Coulson here. We could also play the Zabu, which is going to make Rock Slide and Hawk that much easier to be able to play. Maybe we can work Coulson in a little bit later. I would really like to get the energy efficiency of the Zabu rolling, and then potentially combo more stuff later on. But if I play Coulson now, I get to see what cards he gives me, and I still have time to be able to develop the other ones. I'm gonna go Zabu. There's a fork in the road, and I have taken the road most tread upon. Movement deck player? But I get the Kraven? Oh, you got the Shuri? Are you kidding me? Our cards are not created equal. I cannot help but feel. Alright, I'm gonna go Coulson now. See what do we get. A 4 and a 5. The 4 discounted by both Zabu and Quinjet. and then the 5 discounted by just Quinjet, but then their cost increased by Dream Dimension. So the 4 cost is still going to come out at a net decrease, but I don't think I'm going to be able to combo anything together. Piana Hobgoblin. Okay. You didn't want to play to the Shuri? I can't help but feel like I'm piloting against a bot, but I love my hands so much this could still make it into the video. I'm going to go Hobgoblin. Because it becomes a -16, choking up their side of the board. What are they supposed to do up against that? Also, I should move the Craven because he'll be able to be scaled off of any cards they move to the side. Honestly, I should move Coulson as well. Yes. Just scale the Craven, leave one space open to be playable. They only move Vulture. All right, then it's probably not a bot. I feel like the bots always move all the cards if possible. They try to move them back. Okay, but now you're done. And this is why it's so beautiful. We were able to get a location attack out of the Hobgoblin. Fill up Shuri's Lab to be able to get an easy win right there. And now I can Rock Slide into Hawk to be able to seal the deal with my extra energy efficiency. Even if they Heimdall, they're not going to be able to surmount me because they're looking at, what is a 12 power Hawk dropping down on their heads. If they play Heimdall here and rally with the Shuri, my Craven is buffing up as well. Locked it up. 2 cards mid. 2 cards mid. What's the big idea? Spider-Woman. Go into the miles. I love it. If you need any more encouragement to pick up the Good Cards Dino deck, Fiona Shade Stories recently piloted it into a 2nd place finish in a major tournament competition up against some of the biggest content creators the game has, so the deck can certainly get it done. And now for our second option, this one coming to us from beloved member of the Teddy Ninja community, titling this one Invisible Patriot, bringing a new style of, or a slightly different style of battle mode X Factor rather than the Coulson that's creating new cards that your opponent is not going to be able to predict. This time using the Invisible Woman to be able to just hide what we have really available on board, deny that information from our opponent while we have it all for ourselves. There's honestly something to be said for cutting Shocker to be able to run Daredevil just so that it becomes a full auguring, scrying, information crazy deck, which would just make your opponent lose their mind. I suppose you could argue Luke Cage might be the better trade out rather than the Shocker. Luke Cage doing very well right now in the expectation that you're up against a lot of high evolutionary, which is fully my expectation going into Conquest mode as well. So that's why Luke Cage is here, able to stonewall the Cyclops, stop the Wasp, stop the Thing, all of that, just not wanting to see any of that kind of nonsense. Super Scroll able to feed off of, again, a meta read of a lot of powerful ongoing engines being present right now. You're looking at Hawk. Some decks are still running Dino. Some decks are still running the Blue Marvel. Some decks are also running the Iron Man in the case of, what is it, the Iron Patriot, a slightly different version of this deck. We're not running control for ourselves per se, we're just trying to be able to develop unstoppable tempo on our side of the board. So the core combo, it's Patriot, Invisible Woman, Ultron deck, but then you have a lot of fail-safes and fallback play lines that can also do very well. Being able to be successful with this list looks like a lot of clever bluffing around Invisible Woman and really understanding the matchup and getting into the mind of your opponent. So if you enjoy the poker aspect of Snap, then this is certainly the deck for you, especially in battle mode. The poker matchup, just 1v1, is incredible when you really get into your opponent's head, and this is what this deck allows you to do. You can play this straight up, put all of your buff cards and then the Ultron behind the Invisible Woman. You can also spice it up by dropping down some larger players behind the Invisible Woman to be able to have a change of pace play. You could swap in the Abomination. I've seen some tournament players try and run this, but I want to represent the core list right here, and this list does very well, even if you don't find the Invisible Woman, even if you don't find the finisher in the Ultron, but it's really looking to be able to snap and capitalize on the right hand state and then being able to hide that from your opponent with the Invisible Woman, force them to call your bluff, and then blow them away with that drone strike. We have the Invisible Woman, Lemuria, hiding even additional plays. Drop this in. We're going to be streaming our first foray into Conquest mode live and in person, Twitch and YouTube. Don't normally stream on Tuesdays, but had to make an exception for the advent of this incredibly exciting brand new mode. I think I'm supposed to go Invisible Woman here. Get that set up. I'm holding the Mystique, missing the Patriot, holding Debris. They show Viper. Tempo Viper. I like to be able to hold Viper back. Generally, be able to keep combos coming together. I'll play Shocker. I'll play the free... I'll probably hold the free Misty Knight. Viper deck, unlikely to run Wave or some kind of restriction. Do I want to run Luke Cage? The Viper deck could very well run the Hazmat. Okay. Do I want to show the Debris yet? I think with the Elysium, it buys us license to be able to wait a little bit longer on putting down some of our other combo cards. Put something like this. No Invisible Woman for us. You may have wanted to wait on the Enchantress, my friend, given the rest of these cards I'm going to hit you with. Alright, Blue Marvel me. And then hold on to the rest. Enchantress is gone. I fear nothing. Sarah Viper. Fascinating. I suppose I've seen that, tinkered with it a little bit myself. Oh man. Give me Mystique, give me Super Scroll, and then this will allow me to steal this era and have truly unlimited energy efficiency. Oh, but it doesn't really matter, does it? I guess not. Everything is so cheap anyway, I can just play the Debris. I want to attack the 2 board spaces away from the vault. And then, I want to be able to play Misty Knight here just so that I have as much at the vault as possible. Some kind of Sarah miracle, loving the energy efficiency. They are going to be in a good spot. I'll give them that. But they might run out of board space here. Sentry, sure. And the Typhoid Mary. The Zabu as well. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a huge stack at the vault. I am able to buff it by an additional 4. So that will not quite be enough. I must play Patriot. I must play Super Scroll. It's going to come down to the wire. The Super Scroll will take on the ongoing effect of the Typhoid Mary, but I have Luke Cage myself to be able to nullify that. I will take on the... Oh, they didn't have it. In the end, they ran their hand out. That deck wants to be able to hold the Viper to punch the Void across, but I was going to be able to fill the location anyway. Maybe they were hoping to have the Valkyrie to be able to reset it, and then they realized with my mass buffs I would be able to top them. Love the flexibility of this deck and its capability of standing up to pretty much every kind of matchup up here, because even if they do bring the Enchantress, the Invisible Woman is your shield up against that control to still allow your ongoing engines to find their value. Deck 4 of my recommendations were top picks here in Conquest mode, and it's a personal favorite of mine. Spiced up, juiced up with some of the most modern cards in the game right now, with running Howard the Duck and Iron Lad. Now listen, you don't have to have these cards to be able to run it. I think it does make it the best version of ramp that we currently have with both Howard and Iron Lad, because this is a deck that's in a unique position to be able to benefit from having Jubilee and Iron Lad both in the list as a fallback in case you don't hit the pieces that you're really trying to ramp into. Your core combo is being able to play the Wave into Doctor Doom, repeat the Doctor Doom with the Odin later on, use the Electro to accomplish the same effect, try and pin the opponent down to only playing 1 card to try and match you, either through the Wave or the Sandman, take away all their abilities with the Leech. If you don't have the Howard, you want to run Sunspot. If you don't have the Iron Lad, you want to run Arrow. Arrow in conjunction with the Sandman, the leader, could really lock the opponent out, being able to Sandman, Arrow, and then Odin on the Arrow. The opponent is just hamstrung for the entire match, and it is hilarious to be able to watch them struggle up against you. This deck is really finding success on being able to absolutely beat down the Sarah, the Bounce. It is lights out. If you find that matchup, you'll be able to roll over them, and you go pretty neutral up against the other decks. Anything else that's trying to ramp up is going to struggle to surpass you, and every deck is still susceptible to the control that you wield in the Leech and the Sandman. Oh, ramp one of the decks I have played so much myself. I love this one. Very reliable. Being able to just put the beat down on the Sarah and the Bounce decks feels incredible. Bar Sinister. Honestly, Dr. Doom on Bar Sinister is, in many cases, a game winner. So, your matchup against High Evolutionary, probably your worst matchup. Matchup against something like Kitty Pryde, our best matchup. High Evolutionary, you have to be careful because you know that they have access to Spider-Man, that they could be seeing, predicting, understanding that you are ramped, and then trying to deny you space for your Odin to reactivate your powerful Dr. Doom or your powerful leader. Leader can be able to steal Hulk, and that pairs very nicely with having Electro set up. There's some very fun stuff that you can do. Let's play Howard here. And if you don't find the energy cheats, you'll be able to go into Jubilee or Iron Lad to be able to fish through the deck. With Howard telling you what's on top, with Chavez on the bottom, it's a very narrow window of being able to understand what effects Iron Lad or Jubilee is going to be able to pull. So what are we going to be able to pull? Going to be able to pull Leech. I would rather have the Leech body or have Iron Lad's body. I would rather have Iron Lad's body. Though, interesting point of order. If we trade hands off of Mindscape without me being able to ramp in any form or fashion, well, even if I draw the ramp card next turn, I'm not going to be able to use it. I think I have to Lad. Lad into the Leech. That'll happen after we trade hands, by the way. Zabu Kitty, so we're ahead at Giln. Now, we're looking at Nebula. Not great draws, I have to say. So I don't want to repeat Leech. I don't want Sandman, given that he is going to be handing me a good kitty. That's what my opponent is tearing themselves up about. Mindscape handing it back over to me. So I'm going to accept the Nebula. Flip. Jubilee, pull Nebula. Electro, Wave, Chavez in deck. The 2 energy cheats and then all the 6 costs. Too bad he will not actually be able to play the Dr. Doom, as my Leech is going to take care of any of the value of the cards that I'm handing over to him. He will be able to set up... I mean, if he plays Sarah, he's not going to be able to do very much. The Sarah on Bar Sinister could sneakily be a good option, giving you the ability to play all of the 6-cost cards. It would be 2 each if you had 4 instances of Sarah's effect. They're not going to do it. It does mean that I would be able to win Bar Sinister incredibly easily, though. What? Oh. I wonder what their deck was trying to accomplish. But here we trade. New Leech with the good timing. Hits them right now. They lose all of their competency. And I draw my Chavez. So I can stack the Chavez knowing that it is the largest card in the game at the moment. I could play Ironheart to be able to distribute 6 power randomly just throughout the entire board. I could play Zola to allow some insane mayhem to ensue, as the second Zola would copy the first one on side and side and then be able to start copying the other cards. I don't think that's the best one. I think it's just going to be Chavez on mid. Out of all the spicy options, it's just going to be Chavez on mid. Up against the Mr. Negative deck. Okay, that means the Wong and the Zabu made more sense, and then the Kitty works in just well with Mr. Negative, often having additional energy that they would like to be able to spend, especially early on. And then if the Kitty gets inverted, it's free to be able to pile it down quite nicely. The opponents will just shake their head on the hit from the Leech. Leech is still getting it done. Love to see it. They play 2 cards. One of them mine, one of them theirs. They got the Kitty back to the board. They just play the Leech. Yeah. Hoping to be able to have something across the board. with the opponent really grasping at straws there. Final deck to recommend, and this one is just Old Faithful, titling this one Discard or Dat Card. Discard gets the job done with the core of MODOK, Dracula, Apocalypse, Swarm. You can do incredible things. Again, this deck is not bringing control, it's just able to generate its own power and try and be able to outpace your opponent. And with Dracula's unique ability of being able to dodge any source of control that the opponent is bringing up against you, you're just immune to control from their side. You can get burned a couple times by an opponent running Wave if you are generating a lot of copies of Swarm and then you're not able to bring them into the board. They're bound up in hand, Dracula consumes them. You're gonna have to be careful to play around that a little bit. Maybe there's actually a situation where if you know your opponent is running Wave, you make sure you get rid of your Swarms early or that they're not getting targeted by that final MODOK. Once you know the matchup, you should be able to prepare for that kind of control coming up against you. Max is not really being seen in the current meta. Maybe Sarah Surfer comes around to be able to have Max throw a wrench in your Dracula plans, but this one can pilot very smoothly just from what is in hand. You have Storm as a location fixture, also a location lockdown effect. You have a good matchup up against High Evolutionary because, again, Dracula shrugs off any of the effects of Cyclops, the effects of Wasp, the effects of the Thing. If his power is negated, if it is made negative, he still takes on the full power of the card that is ultimately discarded, so he doesn't care about any of his base power being debuffed. And then because you can pair him up on turn 4 with the Storm, you should be able to lock that lane up into a win, and then your Apocalypse can almost go toe-to-toe with the Hulk in the other situation. The Apocalypse plus Swarm actually should be able to go toe-to-toe up against the Hulk to be able to give you the win. So particularly with how well the matchup can go up against High Evolutionary, not saying it's going to be a cakewalk, but you can definitely go up against the High Evolutionary. It's one of the reasons that this deck is getting a gold star recommendation once to dive into a match. Ooh, Wolverine getting picked up here. That's unfortunate. We want Colin. Colin Wing is one of the stars of the show here. Able to get the targeted discard. I could roll the lottery. You know what? Oh, come on. Don't do this to me. Roll the lottery. The thing is, I don't necessarily mind if I cut up any of the other pieces. Let's just see what we hit. They go Kitty. We score. It's as though the icebox didn't try to screw us over. You love to see when it balances out. If only Swarm had been in hand, man. Nebula, Moon Knight. I like being able to throw down Storm here on curve. We're going to go to take away Machine World. I feel like it's a detriment to them as well. I don't really want them giving me extra cards if I have Dracula, right? If we top deck into Dracula, I don't want them just giving me junk on the final turn that then gets discarded to my detriment. Angela Kitty. Yep. Gonna be buffing that a lot. Storming there would have been good. Storming here, I think, just a little bit safer, though. Now it's going to be Nebula. It's going to be Moon Knight. Hope that we hit Swarm. If we hit Lady Sif, we hit Lady Sif. And then the Nebula should be able to scale the W at Flooding. Just have to concoct our game plan for Wakandan Embassy now. Angela's going to be hard for us to match. We knock their Gamora. We hit the Swarm. Moon Knight knows. He's got a nose for it. Zabu as well. What was the Zabu and the Gamora doing in this deck? I'm a little surprised. Lady Sif hits the most expensive card. Well, what if the most expensive card in your deck or hand is free? Then you hit the Swarm, baby. Pop. We have the Chavez. We had 3 copies of Swarm to be able to vomit to the board. Good luck keeping up with this. Morbius getting even stronger. Ooh. Professor X. So a lot of location lockdown plus the Kitty and the Angela. I'm surprised. But after I killed your Gamora, you can't have anything left, right? I just can't imagine you have something left. Takes out the Morbius. Then you play the Kitty. 11. Jeff. Very close, but we still take the dub. there's my top 5 deck recommendations to be able to get you guys started dominating the card tables in Conquest mode. If you guys pick up any of these lists, I hope they earn you many cubes on your climb up to the coveted Infinite Conquest mode victory. Join us on stream. We're going to be slogging through the gauntlets of as high a tier as is possible and getting the run the paces of everything we can possibly get our hands on. If you have any other decks that you think could be uniquely suited to success in battle mode, let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to chat this new aspect of competitive Snap. Incredibly excited myself. Can't wait to see you guys out there on the card tables. Till next time, thank you guys for watching. Keep on snapping.